topic.
Right. Absolutely. So we're live on Facebook. So I just wanted you all to just say hi to all of our friends that are on Facebook out there. So hello. Voice America is joining us right now. And you guys get to hear all the behind the scenes sound checks that we're going to do right now.
Great.
Hello, good morning, Colleen. How you doing?
Hi, I'm so good. I'm so sad that this is my last show with you.
I know. It was great working with you. Yeah.
Hey, I tell you what, if you guys want cookies, all you have to do is just, you know my email, so just email me. And
I know we might do that. Those chocolate chip cookies are really good. So
I'll bring them.
All right. Okay, so do a quick sound check.
I have Leslie and Doria with me today, and I'm 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, you sound good. Leslie, go ahead and count back from 5 for me.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, and Doria.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. All right. You're both just using the internal microphone, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, neither one of them look like they have any headsets on.
Nope.
Are their sound okay?
Well, we want to change some things. Okay, so both of you, if you could do me a favor, and when you go down to the bottom left corner of the chat or of the Zoom window, you'll see the little microphone that says mute, and right to the right of that is a little arrow. Click that little arrow.
Yep.
Right, and at the bottom of that, it should say audio settings. Click on the audio settings.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and in the microphone section, there is a box that says automatically adjust volume or automatically adjust microphone or something like that. Make sure that's not checked. Uncheck that.
Uncheck that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and Doria, we'll start with you. There should be like a volume slide bar right there for the microphone. Where is it at right now?
Hi, Daniela.
Very close to bottom.
Okay, let's turn that up to about 3/4 the way up.
Okay. How is that?
Here in a minute, you guys.
Better?
Count back from 5 for me.
Come back?
Yeah, just count back from 5 again.
Okay. There we go. Oh, sorry. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sounds good.
All right. I would say turn that up just a little bit more.
Okay. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4.
Yeah, that's good there. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. And Leslie, where's your volume at right now?
I moved it up to 3/4 up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. I would say turn yours down just a little bit more.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Perfect. Okay, we're good to go there. Thank you.
Awesome. We're going to get started any second then. And so we have some people joining us out there already on Facebook. And then what I will do is after we do our live session, I'll go back out to the video and I will trim it, take off this little beginning part. I'll add a description. I'll tag both of you in it. I'd like you to use the comment section in the Facebook video to post a lot of your information, how people can go donate for Local Hope Guatemala, how people can work with you, Doria. So this is an opportunity for you to put all your information out there because we get a lot of views on those Facebook videos.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen.
Yes, of course.
Right. I'm going to send the feed. We're about to get started.
All right.
Have a good show.
Do it. Thank you so much. My blonde hair is blending in with my background. I can't really tell.
Welcome to Lead Up for Women. Speak up to lead up with Colleen Biggs. Are you ready to lead without permission and take the steps needed to live your best life? Whether you want to start the business of your dreams or celebrate your present and future accomplishments, you're definitely in the right place. Now, here is your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the show. You are listening to Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up, and I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and I am so excited to be able to bring this message to you today and have these beautiful ladies that we're interviewing today, Miss Leslie Baer and Doria Cordova. Ladies, say hi to all of our listeners.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you. So good to be here and happy to be with someone like Leslie, so committed to what she does.
Right? It's just amazing. So you guys are going to have the opportunity to meet these beautiful ladies in a minute. And for all of you that are listening on all of our podcast channels out there, and have it on your device. We want to just remind you that we are moving from Voice America. So those of you that do have us, that listen to us on Spotify or Stitcher or Apple Play or Google Play or iTunes or any of those, if for some reason you can't find us, just look up Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. And, we have certainly enjoyed working with Voice America and having a global presence, which we continue to have with our tens of thousands of listeners. So thank you so much for your support and being with us and supporting us in providing this space to bring on these experts week after week after week to be with you, for them to be able to share their wisdom and creative genius with you. And, that's why we're here, because stories inspire, they motivate, they educate. And that's why we're here. We're here to lift women, to support you in living your best life through tapping into, your power and your purpose. And so we're very excited to continue to keep doing this week after week after week. And we will always be on the air live on Facebook. So you can always come to our Lead Up for Women Facebook page and see the videos as well. Some people like to watch videos. Some like to watch on demand while they're traveling around in their cars. And we certainly understand that. So any way that you're joining us, welcome. And thank you for a year of support of us having our podcast, Speak Up to Lead Up. We're very happy to keep going, and we're not stopping now. In fact, Lead Up for Women's growing right now. And, we have all these virtual platforms. We have our magazine that we publish every other month. We have our podcast. We have our online presence right now because we aren't able to do our in-person events. We are doing online Facebook chats. We've had 23 of them thus far in the last 2 weeks, and we're doing them to bring advice and bring our experts forward that are with Lead Up for Women, so that they can inspire, educate, and motivate you every day, from what you should be eating and taking for supplements, to exercising, to how to get your wills and estates in order, all the way to what to do if speaking on stage is your gig and no stages are available right now. So we are covering all avenues, even how you can help those in other countries, which Leslie is going to talk to us a little bit about today. So we are continuing to transform and pivot where we need to, and organically grow to be able to keep providing those virtual platforms for you so that you receive massive exposure. So we have a lot of free webinars available right now. Our members teach 2 webinars a month. So I suggest that you go out to our website, leadupforwomen.com, and jump in on some of these next webinars. This next webinar coming up is so timely because we're talking about how to move from survival to thriving in life. And Jacqueline Tappy is going to lead that one on the second Tuesday of the month. And then on the second Tuesday of May, Dee Dee Wong will be joining us and teaching us all about how to share your message on camera and reach the masses. So happy. We had her on our November-December issue of our magazine, and she's going to be joining us to teach her brilliance. I know, Doria, you are familiar with who she is, who Dee Dee is, and we're very happy that she will be joining us.
She's amazing.
Yes, she really is. And she's got a wonderful story and has a lot of children. And I just love her story and her tenacity and the adversity that she has faced and has overcome to get where she is. So very excited to be bringing her on with us in May. So let's go ahead and jump into what's happening in the world and how my guests have been navigating through this. I want to learn more about their stories. We want to learn more about how they're working through this right now. Many of you might have seen our title of today's show, which is Navigating Through Our New Reality, during the pandemic. And I wanted to make it very obvious today that we can't ignore the fact that we're in an unprecedented time. That's what I like to call it. And you will never feel or hear anything negative on social media, on my podcast, or in any other area that I'm broadcasting from, because I don't believe in using the words fear. I only use the word freedom. I don't believe in using the words panic. I only use the word possibility, because it's all about mindset. So right now, our possibilities for us to learn what might have been going on in our businesses, that we can pivot and change and do better. So this is an opportunity for us to grow and come out of this much stronger than we were coming into this. And it's called unprecedented, meaning give yourself some grace. It's new. We've never done this before. So we're all trying to figure it out together. And together is the key word there. Together meaning community. As a community, we all need to come together, support each other, help each other, and serve. And so today, Leslie, I would love to serve you and have you share with our listeners about you and how you've become just this extraordinarily amazing person that you are, that I'm just so blessed to have crossed your path several months ago to get to know you, because what you do every day is, you're just an angel sent down from heaven.
The same, Colleen. Thank you so much.
So please share with our listeners about you.
Well, when I was 33 years old, I was a relatively happy person, but I, like a lot of people, didn't feel like I had found really what my purpose was. And a friend suggested that I volunteer. And I thought, gosh, what could volunteering possibly do for me? And I began volunteering. I ended up on Skid Row volunteering. And the volunteering experience really changed my life and began to evolve me and my perspective. I found a lot of gratefulness, and I ended up in Guatemala. So it kind of through a series of events. And our organization is not, we're not new to emergencies, because I actually ended up in Guatemala during the Civil War and bringing emergency aid to Guatemala. Over the years, our organization, Local Hope, changed and evolved because we wanted to do something that would be lasting, that was more about empowerment and not kind of Band-Aid work. So when the pandemic hit, I'm really proud of how we were able to pivot and do it quickly, where some organizations kind of stopped doing what they were doing. We realized our constituents in Guatemala, which are the very poor, we work in a poverty belt in Guatemala, we work with indigenous people, they no longer at this moment in time needed educational scholarships and job training. They actually need food. We did a quick assessment and found out that soon people would run out of food. Here we have a lot more food security, but we're even seeing food insecurity in our own country right now. So imagine if you're a family of 5 who lives on between $2 and $4 a week, the equivalent. Yeah. Some of the families we serve only live on $1 a week or $2 a week. Yeah. And all of a sudden, that day-to-day existence is curtailed. There are roadblocks, you can't move. There's price gouging, and the cost of an egg went up there from the equivalent of about 15 cents to 60 cents. If you're living on the equivalent of $1 or $2 a week for your family, the food insecurity immediately rose to the top. And we realized that while we usually think about sustainable community development and empowering people for the long run, right now it's about saving lives. So we have a wonderful dedicated board and board of directors, 17 of us here, and we were able to change gears, switch our operation over, apply for emergency disaster relief funding, and we're running an operation right now that is providing food to 3,000 people a month in the village that we're in. So very proud of our team on the ground. It's a scary time. Luckily, we work with a partner called Direct Relief International, which had provided a store of masks and gloves for us. Mm-hmm. We were at a clinic in Guatemala. So that's the big picture right now. I know I kind of skipped over my personal story, but I think the pandemic is on everybody's mind. So that's how we've been able to respond. And even as we're talking now, we've got a team, a wonderful team on the ground preparing food, essential food bags, which have a month of food in them for each family. They also contain soap for disinfecting, and they contain a flyer with reliable information on COVID-19, because they face the same problem that we do with unreliable information. And so in an area where people don't have television and only few have access to radio, they hear stories like, oh, if you drink bleach, I hate to say this, it's actually happening here, but you know, there are crazy stories about what you need to do. So through this flyer, our medical committee was able to put together some very simple things to help people stay safe that cut through the rumor and will prevent people from hurting themselves during the emergency. So that's what we're on the ground doing right now.
Those are things that, you know, I don't think here we would even think about, right? And so I would love for you to spotlight a little bit more on, you know, everyone is doing so much and asking the questions here. How can I serve? You know, what can I do to serve? How can I serve? What would you say to somebody who was looking for an opportunity to serve outside of our country? I know I've been contacted again. You know that I've been working with some women in Africa and helping in that area, and they are really struggling right now in the slums there. You know, again, living on a couple of dollars a week, just as Guatemala is. What is the best advice for us to give? We're global, so we have a lot of listeners in other countries. You've been in this industry for 20, is it more than 20 years or 20, 30 years, right?
Yep.
So what advice would you give to someone who is watching from another country and wanting to help the families that are struggling, or anyone here in the United States? What is the best way? Where should they reach out? What are the organizations that you would recommend that they reach out to get help for something like this?
It's really important that you help, and it's wonderful that people want to help. And Colleen, I love the project that you're working on in Africa. The best thing that people can do right now is help the nonprofits who are already established and on the ground in these countries. There's no way to assure, if you just send money directly to families, that it will actually even get there. There's a lot of graft, and unfortunately, a lot of people in other countries and in this country taking advantage of the situation. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to get on to Great Nonprofits is a great site, or Charity Navigator, and look your organization. If you're interested in Africa, search by keyword and find a nonprofit that's already there that has a good track record. You might want to look up if you're a numbers person and see what their overhead rate is, so you know how much of your donation is actually getting to the people who need it. So for example, we're very proud that of every dollar that's donated to us, 93 cents this year goes directly to the cause. So we have just a 6.33% overhead rate. So almost 94 cents actually on every dollar. Some organizations are really hot in overhead. They spend a little bit much, but there are a lot of great organizations that are working on, 20% less of and less of overhead. So that's what I'd suggest. Support people who are already established and are working, and make sure that they've pivoted their operations to emergency, because some organizations have not done that. They haven't been able to do that yet. And you want to help those who are helping people in this situation to stay alive first, because if we can't keep people alive, we can't help them get an education and learn a job skill and all the other things.
Right.
It's really shifted. The focus is really changed right now to saving lives.
Yeah, it's just about getting food to people, information to people, water, and of course, medication if needed, or medical necessity. right
soap and masks. We just mobilized, we work with weavers, and we just mobilized our indigenous weavers
now. Hmm.
to make face masks. So face masks have been a recommendation by the World Health Organization really since this crisis started. And we're now kind of catching up to the World Health Organization recommendations, but we've been using those the entire time.
Hmm.
We're also providing masks. The governments such as Guatemala are so poor that the local health clinic that serves all of our villages came to us for masks, gloves, and disinfectants. So when you help in a developing country, your dollar is really going a long way. So for example, in Guatemala, it's 8 to 1. When you donate $1, you're getting $8 worth of value. So $100 donation turns into $800 of value.
That's amazing. Yeah. So much we can do to help there. And this isn't, you've been in this for 30 years, Leslie. So I know this isn't the first time that you've seen an uncertain time through this. So talk a little bit. I know we only have about a minute before break, but I would love for you to, you're an award-winning documentary filmmaker. There's so much behind the scenes here. If I started peeling back the layers, and you're so humble with the work that you do, and how could you not, with who you're serving. But you've been with Mother Teresa's order. You just go back so far in depth of working with these with nonprofits and serving. Like, your entire life has been about service. So this is what I would like to do. Let's run. We're not going to run. We're just going to hop, skip, and jump to break. We all need the exercise right now. So let's go ahead and go to break. And in 2 minutes, when we come back, I would love for you to chat with our listeners more about your past and, what you've done. Because I just think it's an amazing story, and it's so inspirational and motivational. So would you like to share that when we come back from break?
Thank you.
Okay,
Colin.
great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, you guys, stay there. In 2 minutes, when we get back, we're going to learn more about how Leslie was working not alongside, but with the Mother Teresa, which she's just one of my favorites. So stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay, good job. We're all clear. Back in about 2.
Okay. Thanks. So we're still live on Facebook, and for some reason I got pushed out of it on my phone, but I want to say hi to everybody that's there. There's been several comments already, and I haven't been able to read them all because I think my phone is still trying to load. So I want to apologize to all of you on Facebook out there.
Yeah,
But if you
going, so I connected it to mine.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Awesome. Wonderful. So if any of you have any questions that are out there on Facebook at any point that you have for anyone, please be sure to ask those questions. And then after we're done, like I said, for all of you listening on Facebook, because everybody on our podcast won't hear this part because we're on break. And I do have to say, one of my favorite parts, the only major positive is moving to a podcast format, which we were in before, but we were still live on the day that we went live, is I don't have to take any breaks. So I get to go all the way through without missing 4 minutes of time. And 4 minutes of time is a lot when you're interviewing people and getting the information out there. So I'm super excited about being able to roll all the way through our interviews and not having to break. So that will be awesome. And that will start next week. In fact, I have so many ladies that want to be interviewed on the podcast. I'm doing 4 interviews next week. So I'm doing 2 different podcasts next week, just so I can continue interviewing and getting the messages out there that we need. Because to me, the more that we communicate and the more that we share, sharing is caring, and lift each other and keep putting everybody that we know on platforms to share their messages, the better the world will be, because then people are able to get the messages, share the messages, or utilize the messages for themselves, to be able to pivot within their businesses. But I think we're going to come out of this so much stronger. So I actually love what's going on right now with the world and how we're coming together, on a world basis, and everyone's coming together with love and connection and caring and service, and Mother Nature can breathe. She's loving this,
All right, Colleen, we're just
Mother
about to come
Earth.
back.
Okay, let's do this. It's really been step forward, obviously, the sicknesses and the deaths that we've
You
had.
are listening to Lead Up for Women. Speak up to lead up. To reach the show today, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@leadupforwomen.com. Now, back to this week's show.
All right, you guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are listening to Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. And again, I'm your host, Colleen Biggs, and we have been speaking with the beautiful Leslie Baer, and she is been talking a lot about Guatemala and how they've had to pivot. So I would love for her to share more about her past and what she's been through to get to the point to be able to have the ability to operate such a large nonprofit that she does today in serving so many in Guatemala. So Leslie, please share.
Well, thank you for asking, Colleen. I think that my story is not really different than a lot of women's stories, where it started out really with an emptiness, a sense of a longing to do more in this life. And I think that transforming that longing is what led me to volunteer service. And I think anybody I've ever known in my life has also had a longing and some pain in their life. And so I had a lot of loss early on. My mother died when I was young, and I was adopted, and I was trying to figure things out. And it's so interesting that that pain really led me to trying to fill that hole. I ended up working on Skid Row, and I was very fortunate to get to work with the Brothers of Charity, with Mother Teresa's organization. My path led me to that. And it was really on Skid Row when I saw the kinds of conditions that people live in. And now that was 7,000 people living on Los Angeles' Skid Row. Now, unfortunately, today we have 50,000 people living on Skid Row. But seeing some of the conditions and meeting the actual people and hearing their stories and realizing, they're I'm a couple of paychecks away from where they are, really touched me. It started giving me that sense of the oneness that we share as a human community. And hearing some of their stories, I thought, if I didn't have that safety net of the loving family that I have, that could be me on Skid Row. I met families living on Skid Row, and the difference between them and I was a safety net, a loving safety net. So I realized through those experiences that I really had a lot to give. So it changed my perspective from a feeling of emptiness to the glass is more than half full. And I really have so much. And that's, starting to focus on gratitude to fill that emptiness. I ended up actually going to Guatemala to study Spanish so that I could do better service work on Skid Row, because so many of the people we served were Spanish speakers, and I had a bleak sense of the Spanish language. And so the Brothers of Charity teased me about going there and I ended up in Guatemala in the middle of a civil war. And I guess only somebody like the Brothers of Charity, who have, they operate in war zones all over the world, could have gotten me to agree to go to Guatemala. So I ended up in the middle of a war zone in 1992, complete with soldiers in the streets. And I was so unaware, really. I was 33 years old. So you don't have to start your journey of service when you're 15. I was 33 years old, very sheltered. And I could tell something, was not right, but I really didn't understand everything that was going on. And when my Spanish teacher learned that I worked for Mother Teresa's organization, I was a coordinator of volunteers at that time for the Missionaries of Charity. She said, I really want to show you the real Guatemala. Would you like to see it?
Mm.
And I said, in my in my very sheltered, sure, not realizing the danger. And in the darkness one Friday night, she and another teacher took me up into a refugee camp. It was a 2-hour journey to a refugee camp where I saw people living, Colleen, in conditions that people should never live in. I saw, families just living in filth under lean-tos. They're families who had fled the urban areas to keep their children from being taken to be soldiers.
Mm.
So the war had, they'd fled the war. And I saw some of the impressions that I still carry with me was a small family gathered around a fire with a flat piece of metal, cooking and what looked like one egg and grass, sharing it among a family. And then what really, I think, had the biggest impact on me, which I never, ever forgot, was I heard a kind of a wailing going on. And instinctively, I ran towards it. And my teacher and I found a group of women crouched around something and one woman wailing, and it was a little boy. And I realized that he was probably about 5 years old, and I realized that he had died. So I asked my teacher, what happened? What happened? And the mother said he died of a sore throat. And it turned out by coincidence that just before going to Guatemala, I had cleaned out my own medicine cabinet and I had thrown away some antibiotics that were still in date. And the image of those antibiotics in the trash, and that I had thrown away something that could have saved a life, it really haunted me. And it got me to thinking about all that I waste, all that I had wasted, and how what we considered trash could save lives.
Yeah.
In a developing country like Guatemala. So that was my personal experience there. I left that mountaintop and I was in shock and cried and, felt sorry for myself and felt sorry for the world. And then I turned that into kind of a righteous indignation. And I promised my teacher I would be back. Mm-hmm. And 6 months later, I was back with 40 of my best friends and people I didn't even know. And we together started the project Shayla Aid, named after the region. We're now called Local Hope. But so we worked in a war zone operation for the first 2 years. We provided emergency medical assistance. We brought doctors in, we pitched tents and gave emergency care to people who in many cases hadn't had any medical care for a year or 2 years. When you meet a little boy who's crying because for a year the light has hurt his eyes, and you put $1 worth of drops in his eyes and see that pain disappear after a year, those are the kinds of experiences that are just, they make your life worth living. They made my life worth living. And I'm so grateful to have thousands of those stories now. And so I've never regretted going to Guatemala. There's a lot of sacrifice for women, know this, who are starting their own business, being their own woman. I've had to sacrifice a lot to do that, but I would never change the way that my life went.
Wow, Leslie, you're an extraordinary example for us today in serving and giving. And thank you so much for sharing that vulnerable story. And I think that really all makes us step back and think a little bit of evaluating and being grateful for what we do have versus what the rest of the world is going through right now that they don't have. And how could somebody donate to Local Hope? Could you share that information for everybody listening?
Absolutely. If you're interested, it's localhope.org. localhope.org. You can just go on and there's a bright red donate button there. You can put in the notes that you'd like it to be for emergency operations, but we pretty much know that right now.
Yeah.
And, $40 feeds a family for a month.
Wow.
So if you have more to spare, we'd be so grateful. But
everybody is saving $40 in gas right now. So I would like everyone to take your $40 that you're saving in gas because you're not driving or flying or going those places, and go on to Local Hope. I'll be going on there today and donating as well. And let's feed a family for a month. I think that's the best thing that we can all do. So also please, Leslie, drop that information down in the comment section when we're off of being live. I would love that. Leslie, thank you for being with us today, and stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, Doria, you're up. Miss Money and You. It's time to talk about cash. It's on everyone's mind right now. I have to tell you, you know, there are some families are doing okay, and they're like, we are blessed that we can work from home and that we can still pay our bills. But you know, there are 44 million. I don't know how many they said, 44,000 or how many people have filed for unemployment and have lost their jobs and are struggling to pay their bills right now. You know, it's just it is a scary time. And it, you know, I would love for you to talk about you, Doria, and how, especially during this time, you're out at a lot of events. How have you pivoted to work with those in your university, to work with those in your community and your circle to assist them through this time?
So thank you. But first, I have got to, I can hardly talk right now because Leslie is the kind of person that I am totally committed to. I have been about eradicating poverty and hunger since 1977. And one of the things that I'm most proud of our work, our Money and You program and our Accelerated Business School and all our programs is about giving people purpose. And we have had tens of thousands of people that have moved on to work like Leslie have. And Leslie, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so moved by you because I feel that you not only have found purpose, but really put it into action. And just know that there's many of us, like myself, who are committed to empowering you. And believe me, it's not going to be $40. I think all of us, whatever we have in our kitty, let's give it, because that is the law of circulation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So basically, I just want to thank you. And God makes no mistakes. God makes no mistakes that we are together here. And I will be really sending this to many, many people, particularly to my network of people around the world. So basically, when we talk to Leslie and we hear about the rest of the world, we have no problems. We have no problems. Really, we have no problems. One of the things that this paradigm shift, this thing that is happening in the world right now, is to shine a light on over 2 billion people on the planet that live in the conditions that Leslie is talking about. So what happens is that right now we're getting to look at our own experience of scarcity. And so what happens is that it's not just what are people doing. I didn't have to pivot anywhere. I have had a model of leverage and of licensing since 1980. So for the people that understand business, that understand leverage, and by the way, Mother Teresa was one of the greatest understanders. She understood leverage like nobody. I mean, that woman was the most beautiful human being and just used resources in order to duplicate herself and to inspire so many. So when we talk about money, one of the things that is happening right now is that the whole world is going through the biggest training, the biggest seminar, the biggest workshop for those people that have that landmark Ask Money and You, my program and other programs. You pretty much are now living that life and beginning to have empathy and sympathy on what it is like. So our problem is toilet paper. It's like you were talking about and the waste that we do. I mean, I'm very clear, Leslie. I learned long ago about those little medicines. And it's a constant. My whole thing is getting everybody to get their shampoos and their soaps from every hotel and give it to somebody to give it to somebody. So one of the things that we need to come home to is that there are certain tools around money. There are certain key things, like are you involved in income generating activities? So that's something that people sometimes don't understand. Or are you working on a daily basis on a thing called leverage? So you can leverage your product or service. And there are many people that do need to pivot to actually creating an economic engine. And in that economic engine, you'll have the ability to create tremendous wealth and to create money not only for your family, but also we have to think like the law of tithing. We are run in the world by generalized principles. We are run in the world by many invisible things. And so what the world forgot, and we got so into, consumerism and into just making money, 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 that we forgot that there's 2 billion of our brothers and sisters living in conditions that are so horrendous and that we can't even look at. So like for myself, I have to tell you the reason I get so moved around, Leslie, is because I am the kind of person that falls apart in those circumstances. I've already tried it. But what I have learned is don't fall apart, take that energy and bring a bunch of people to support that. And so I think that right now, when we really look at what's happening in the world, we're having an opportunity for us to really get very focused on creating income generating activities, in creating leverage, in creating a brand new economic engine that will not only be good for us, our families, our communities, and the world, but it also will take into consideration the most amazing world problems. When people go and look at me, see, they talk about, sometimes people give me the label, oh, how do you teach us how to become a millionaire? That is, you don't find anywhere. What I am churning out are social entrepreneurs that understand, to answer the question of Buckminster Fuller, how do we make the world work for 100% of humanity through spontaneous cooperation in the shortest possible time without any ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone? So when you begin to answer that question, there's something magical that occurs. There's something amazing that occurs. All of a sudden, you see business opportunities everywhere. All of a sudden, you find yourself being a broker. I was just thinking about the mass, and for both of you, for your, and Leslie, I know somebody who is very wealthy, creating all these masks, but they have all these masks that don't work that well. I want to know what happens to those masks. We can send them to your organization. So what happens is that you become so brilliant, all of a sudden your ability to be able to see business opportunities just begin to show up everywhere. And that comes out of having a heart of service, understanding business. And I can send them to give them books and give you free seminars where it will take you hours for you to go through it. And you will learn how to make money. But right now, what is most important more than anything else is for you to get in touch with your compassionate heart, with those aspects of yourselves that know this, that every time you throw a piece of medicine, there is a part of you going, oh my God, I wonder if anybody could use this. And so that we begin to create true wealth on planet Earth.
Ooh, I love that, Doria. So we have to go to break for 2 minutes, but when we get back, I want to dive a little bit more into steps that people can take. Just as we were talking, let's give them a little bit more clarity on day to day, the areas in which they can look at their lives, no matter what profession they're in, that they can really dissect and realize, how can I, through my everyday life, continue to bring humanity together and serve others? That's the goal of this. So let's go to break for 2 minutes. When we get back, we're going to talk more in depth with Doria.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All clear.
All right, great. We're on another break. Leslie, thank you so much for sharing that information. And we'll get that out there in the comment section, because I really, if it's okay for you to put out there that if $40 feeds a family of 4, because thousands of people will see the video, beyond today, once we start sharing it and promoting it. And as Doria is sharing it and as you're sharing it. And then I would put in the title as well, when we share this video, to ask others to share, to give everybody the opportunity to be able to, that was a conversation I had yesterday with one of my Facebook experts, which was, look at the silver lining of all the money that we're saving right now. She's a financial strategist and as a stockbroker, and she said, you know, you're not eating out. You have all these discretionary dollars, right? You're not spending it on gas. We're not traveling. We're not spending it on hotel rooms and plane tickets. What are the extra dollars that you have in your life that you can do something with right now? You know, to
a very good point, Leslie, for you. And of course, I hope we connect. You
Yeah.
know, you can
Love
find.
what you said. Beautifully said.
Thank you. So what I want you to do is I want you to really put down that $100. We can all afford $100.
Yeah.
It's part of the law of tithing. You know, it's like something, when I had my biggest learning experience around money, for me, what I did, I never stopped giving. I give. So, and we don't need to be the big check kind of person. It's like, this relationship is between me and the Great Spirit. But when you said that $100 is $800, I think that's really, really important. I like to really support you. I have a whole series for humanitarians, and this is what I want to support you with, which is ask for more, not just $40, but just say $100 will be $800 worth of goods. And then what I do is I'm like a little bee that goes from flower to flower. I go from one organization to another and support the leaders of it to ask for more, because we're such wasters in the Western countries.
Thank you.
Sorry to jump in here, but we're just about to come back.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that that's a very great point that we can mention on the radio is, you know,
You are listening
waste
to Lead
a
Up for
lot.
Women. Speak up to lead
Wow,
up.
that's loud.
To reach the show today, please call 1-888-346-9141.
Okay, now we're coming back
That's
to the podcast.
1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to info@leadupforwomen.com. Now, back to this week's show.
Welcome back, listeners. We are in our last segment, and we are so happy that you've stayed with us. You are listening to Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. And we have been speaking with Leslie and Doria today. And recently we were speaking with Doria in the last segment. She was talking a lot about how we can look at how we can build wealth, but how we can build wealth through, well, I'm just going to let you talk about it, Doria. You go. I'm just going to turn it right back over to you, and I'm not even going to try and explain that one because you were doing such an amazing job. So let's just jump back in on talking about the economic engine and how,
Okay, so how you build your economic engine, you can go to moneyandyou.com, download a book called The Accelerated Business Success Model. And I also, Leslie, I want you to go there because I also work with many nonprofits. I build them up, you know, and get you guys creating also a very strong economic engine. So I am your new best friend.
Okay, sounds good.
So one of the things, the Great Spirit brought us together, you know, and so one of the things that I want you to know is that there are business models. There are business models that very quickly, when you learn from masters, which our beautiful Colleen is bringing to you every day, this is such an opportunity to learn from many experts and masters. You create a niche or a niche for those of you down under. You leverage that niche through systems. You create an aligned team like Leslie was talking about, that she brought 40 people, her closest friends and people she didn't know. She brought a team of doctors and people to support, but you can also do that in your business. Then you create a thing called synergy. Now, what you're seeing right now is spontaneous cooperation. I get inspired. There couldn't be anybody more than a Leslie that inspires me, that gets me up at night on how do I solve world problems and support people that know how to do it. See, you don't have to be the one that knows how to do it. And this is the same thing around money. So one of the things that is very key is to know that you need to create results. So what the world is going through right now is a state of survival, okay? So everybody's activated to survival. So, and Americans and a lot of people in what is called nations that are already economically developed, which there's quite a few of them. There's 12 countries on the planet that have no poverty. And don't get me started talking about that, the United States not being one of them, because we have over 15 million people children that go to bed hungry in the United States. and already Leslie covered about homelessness. So one of the things that what we need to do is to become aware of our own deservability. I do a program which is called Magical Exercises. Anytime you want to find anything about me, you go to moneyandyou.com and then / whatever. Then the latest / is recovery magical exercises without any dots or anything, just recovery magical exercises. That's a program that I just did with my network. There were over hundreds of people in it. And go through that process, especially now that you're staying home. And yes, it is true that right now you are saving so much money, you don't even realize it. But more than anything else, go ahead and put yourself on a little Netflix diet. Watch that for a little while. But right now, it is such an opportunity for you to be learning from all the experts and the masters on how to create money. Now, the biggest thing is making an inventory. You need to make an inventory of the resources that you have. I'm sure, Leslie, you did that. You came back and said, okay, who can help me? And I'm sure you made a list of your people and said, so-and-so, so-and-so, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. So what you want to do is you want to treat your life right now as if though you were in an emergency, which you are, many of you, because somebody just pulled the rug from underneath. So what I do with the magical exercises is support you to get back into your heart, to get back into your own authority. This is the biggest thing. This is really, really important, that you get back into your own self, and then your intelligence level goes up. In our Money and You program, we talk about that whenever emotions come up, intelligence goes down. So you got to bring the emotions down, your intelligence up, and now you do a list of what you really need. What is it that you really have? All the resources out there, everybody's going to get, if you pay taxes, everyone is going to get a check, either online or you're going to get a check in the mail. Everyone can go with small businesses if you qualify, and it's very easy to qualify. You can go to SBA. And then there are many different sources in all of your communities. So now you need to take a look at your access. What people that don't have a lot of money, they have a challenge with access. So my new definition of wealth is to have access to cash, to investments. My friend Maria Simone, if you go to my Facebook, DC Cordova, my friend Maria Simone and her partner, Chad Warren, have a thing called Zen Moose Capital. They have over 140 lenders for small business people right now. Now that's only the beginning. Like Maria likes to say, money has not left the planet. So right now there's a lot of people that are making a lot of money. There's a lot of sharks out there. Don't get me started on that conversation. It's really simple. The way you identify a shark is how long they've been doing business. I've been doing business for 41 years. How long what is my track record? What do I look like on the net? If I just have all these landing pages that do not keep track, like my page, accelerator.com, that one has been around since 1994. I am in the top 4 million websites on the planet out of billions and billions. That's how you can tell when someone is genuine or not. And the same thing that we were talking about, the places that Leslie was talking about, where to find reputable places where you can find people where to donate to. So it's easy to find sharks. If you get pulled in by somebody that takes your money, you just did not do your due diligence. This is for you to remember forever. So now, access to. So most people that have very little money don't have access to. So when you're in a village in Guatemala, you have no access. They don't even let you out of this one area. But in America, we have so much access. You want to know why immigrants make so much money? It's because we get here. I came here at 12 years old. I was a child. But I remember my family. They spend every weekend figuring out how to create wealth. I learned this also from my family. But what happens is that we have a major disease in the United States, which is called, I know, Oh, I already know. I already know. So there's no window. There's not a glimmer of light for those of us that want to contribute to you, for it to come in. So the Great Spirit, the universe, has now brought an amazing opportunity. This is the $1 million training for you that doesn't cost you anything, for you to see your behaviors. Make a list of everything that you're weak at. It's okay for you to be weak, and all your strengths. So you make a list of your strength, you make a list of your weaknesses, you make a list of all the resources that you have, all the resources that are available to you. If you don't know, go Google it. Go Google it. There is so much money available to you. I know a bunch of people that were making very little money. They're so happy right now because they're going to be able to capitalize their businesses. They're going to be able to get out of debt. Everything is being forgiven right now. Everything. It's like you can call up your bank, you can call up and get all your credit cards down. So what you're now seeing is an opportunity for you to see the access to. So, and right now, some of your products and services are obsolete. I am sorry, but the world is changing. So one of the things that you really need to see and be prepared for that. So for those of us who are really surviving this really well, we knew it was coming, because don't waste your time in just listening to political stuff. You need to go and read publications that have information that can be valuable to you in making financial decisions. My old partner, Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad, he was my business partner for 9 years. The first book, the first Rich Dad book, came out of my Money and You program. He was my business partner for 9 years in that, in our business school. That book, and he and I were trained by a gentleman by the name of Keith Cunningham, who taught us the cash flow quadrant. Are you an employee, self-employed that has no leverage, business, or an investor? If you're not a master investor, this is not a good time to get into investing unless you are a master. And then a business has to have all the systems in place. So when a wave like today hits, you're settled for a year and a half in order for you to be able to create income. So that you have heard many times. So basically forgive yourself, release all the judgments that you may have about yourself and your family for not being prepared, and go to work, and focus. And
Doria, can you explain, since we only have about a minute left, really quick, what is your offer for our listeners today, and how can they connect with you? I know you mentioned it a couple times, but if you'll, again, so that they can reach out to you to work with you.
Money and You, MoneyandU.com, and then /recovery magical exercises. That's an offer to you to do a program that would really support you with moving through all that's happening right now. I also want you to go to moneyandyou.com and download the book. Accelerated Business Success Model is at the bottom. It's a small book. And also just go to my Facebook, DC Cordova. I go to a lot of different events that I get invited to. I'm almost every day in some podcast. And the reason people bring me in is because I just bring it home, which is you.
Thank
and
you,
about
Doria.
having a heart of gold so we can support the Leslies of the world.
Thank you for all of you for bringing your hearts today. And I just want to remind our listeners that next week on April 14th, we have Ashley Warren, who's the founder of So Social Marketing and Cause Bracelets. She works with Scott Danzig, so many wonderful people out there. She's going to give us some advice on marketing, as well as Kelly Surrett, who is an adaptive music educator. I love the way that she teaches children. So we have a really full schedule next week. I'm also going to be interviewing a second bonus show next week for Hyacinth Henderson and Michaela Kiner. So please join us next week. Ladies, thank you so much for being here with me. Everyone, please make sure you visit our Facebook page. Go to the comment section of this video. Get all of the information. Take advantage of all of these offers, all of this free information that's available for you. And remember, you are the only you that has ever been, and you are the only you that will ever be. So how you lead your life is up to you. And if learning is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you, because now is the time to step up and lead. So learn. Ladies, thank you so much. I've enjoyed our show today. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, perfect. Great job. All clear. And we'll have